365 Sports. All right, so the latest with Michigan. Oh, boy. Every day you wake up, there's something new with them, right? Every single day. This was a story by Sports Illustrated. In a lengthy exchange, part of their reports, in a lengthy exchange in 2021, Michigan's Connor Stalions, he's the one that's under kind of investigation, texted that he stole opponent signals from TV, had close relationships with the Wolverines. The entire staff had a vision for the Wolverines' future. There's nothing wrong with stealing signals, by the way, on television.
Okay, first of all, he shouldn't have said that he learned their signals. He didn't steal them, because that's the other thing about stealing signs in baseball. Well, if you figure them out, did you steal them because they're out there for you to see? So stealing them to me would be if you're doing it on video. That's stealing them. But if you learn them, then that's a different thing. There's semantics. Connor Stalions is not a very good criminal. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, he left a lot of what appear to be some maybe fingerprints. In the end, I still don't know what happens in the end. Craig, Paul, we've discussed that before. But this is pretty in-depth from Richard Johnson from Sports Illustrated. Even Ross Dellinger, who once worked there now at Yahoo, said that this was the most in-depth and details that he's even seen, even though he has been reporting quite a bit about Connor Stalions and the Michigan allegations.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, the biggest thing is what can be done. I mean, we've seen you've seen the pictures of him on this Michigan sideline holding what Ohio State now has apparently said were their signals during that game.
Well, I mean, of all people.
Yeah, I mean
Ohio State bitching about Michigan. But and that I get it if it happened, but
he's got either way. He's got a whole thing of signals. So his job was, and Michigan can no longer say, well, he had other jobs. Like, clearly his position on that staff was, you figure out the signals, because he has this big, chart of them that they're using. Now, the methods, again, are starting to be seen here. But, yeah, this is weird. But the question is, and this is what Jim Harbaugh is going to be, what are they going to do about it? Are they going to do anything about it? Well, Jim Harbaugh is still the coach at Michigan. And other than hitting Michigan right after he would leave, but if Jim Harbaugh is the coach of the Raiders or the Bears next year, what does it matter what they do to Michigan?
Craig?
Yeah, I mean, to clarify, there were some text messages between him and a guy who was, looking to, get involved and be a part of a football staff and had conversations. And so, a guy who probably we don't, have any idea even exists, and all that is now like a crucial piece to it further, shedding some light on a guy who we didn't know existed before this week in many cases. And so it's a cast of characters that we're suddenly being introduced to in another chapter of just wonky, weird college football tales. And this one with Jim Harbaugh and Michigan as the main characters. And so, yeah, he, had these text messages that show him bragging for all intents and purposes about his role and how it kind of unfolded and who he was close to on the staff and all those things, and eventually gets to the point in the article where it talks about his manifesto, which you hear that word and you shudder, because that usually comes with like school shootings or some public massacre or something like that. And so it's a word that here in America I feel like we hear that word and it's not very ever positive. In this case, it's at least something that's not along those lines and just weird. Honestly, it's a master plan for him and others or him and another guy to run Michigan football in the future. And it lays out, I guess, in great detail all of their plans and how that's going to go. And like I said, hundreds of pages. So that's a fascinating article, I'm sure, to read. But that part of the story just adds another layer of just weirdness and only college football, it feels like, has stories like this, but I know that's not the case. But yeah, it's a lot to unpack. It's a bizarre story that's getting even weirder. Like you said, stealing signals and bragging about them, that doesn't break any rules or anything like that. But it does go to show you that anybody saying there was nothing going on, there was nothing to this, there's very clearly some attachments here. There's very clearly some lines that you can draw. Now, whether you can draw them in Sharpie and prove it is one thing, as opposed to, can there actually be anything done about this? That I still don't know. But yeah, very clearly there was some nefarious stuff going on. I think everybody probably figured that as of yesterday. But for those maybe on the fence, I think clearly this guy, whether mostly on his own or with the direction of Harbaugh or Jay Harbaugh or whoever else he became friends with. There was a whole little setup going on, and to what depths it reached, that's the part that we still don't quite know yet. But man, it smells the high heaven of a a little opportunity by him and others to get their advantage that is so such a big thing in college football, and that we know programs go to great lengths to get. And clearly, in some form or fashion, this guy and some element of Michigan went to great lengths to try and get advantages on their upcoming opponents.
One of the other parts of the story that has nothing to do with Michigan in any way, but it was that he was able to get test scores and GPAs of some 500 midshipman classmates or those who were at the Naval Academy. There was even a quote from somebody that said that he was infatuated in a way with Michigan football. So, again, that doesn't mean what he's doing now or what he's done, but it's just kind of a little bit strange. The guy obviously knows how to get data. And, in fact, he was asked to delete all of it by the Naval Academy because that was under the Privacy Act, and I'm sure that possibly that happened pretty damn rapid.
Well, look, Jed Fish is involved in this now tangentially because there was some, he said to deny that Connor Stalions did anything for him because he said in some of his communications that when he was stationed in California, he would go to Tucson and help Jed Fish out as he transitioned into his new role. And so it's all weird. It's a very weird story, and I can't wait for the 30 for 30 about it. And I'm still curious as to what the end of it is for Michigan.
Yeah, I still wonder if anything in the end is going to happen, or are we just going to jump all into this for the next 2-3 more months until the championship game is played, or what?
I'm sorry, but I think you said he kind of was obsessed with Michigan. No, he was very obsessed with Michigan. He wrote the Michigan Manifesto, hundreds of pages of how he and another guy are going to run Michigan football one day. So that crosses obsessed to me, or that is full-blown obsessed to me. I mean, again, I don't know what amounts to what can be punished or what can be, attached to Jay Harbaugh, Jim Harbaugh, any other number of people that could potentially be involved. Michigan's still saying the same things as far as like, hey, we had nothing to do with this and we're not involved in this. And you know what? The way it's being kind of framed right now, you can see the whole, here's just a nut job who was obsessed with Michigan football, who acted on his own and was doing all this. You can already see that being set up as a potential angle here. Kind of hard to imagine when you also see video, though, of him a foot away from Jim Harbaugh, very clearly talking to Jim Harbaugh during games with a big stack of papers in his hand. And, even then you can see somebody, well, that's not technically illegal either. Right. And so we're just going to go in circles. We can unpack every little note on this, but we're going to go in circles because everything is going to be met with, yeah, but is that illegal or is that this? And so I think it's a matter of, we're going to find and get into some stuff where it's not necessarily illegal or punishable, but it does draw into question of just like competitiveness and what's right and what's wrong. And look, it's college football, so there's a lot of stuff done in the dark, and there's probably a lot of people out there, burning their Ohio State manifesto right now or their Penn State or, well, let's not pick on the Big Ten entirely.
I wish the Nebraska had one.
Their Nebraska I'm sure there's one somewhere. Like what can actually be proven, what can be connected to Jim Harbaugh, what can be punishable, that we all still don't know. But, man, it's a weird story that just seems to get weirder with each passing day.
All right, let's discuss one of the topics that obviously